As electric vehicles take over global markets, there's one major factor that's always ignored: the environment, and specifically in this case, the extreme cold. I'm currently in Sweden where it's minus 10 degrees, and I'm going to put this theory to the test to see exactly how much effect the cold has on the range of electric vehicles. In this video, we'll dive into the science of battery chemistry in the cold and put this Tesla through a 250-kilometer real-life stress test. Is the winter range anxiety a myth or reality? Let's find out. Before I go on a drive to test this theory, I kind of want to explain what the issue is. Electric cars are often advertised to have this really good range. In the case of the car I'm testing, it's the Tesla Model 3 Performance. It has a range, allegedly, of 571 kilometers, or 309 miles. This is in an ideal weather scenario. It does state this on the website. But the whole point of this video is to show how much of an effect the cold has on the efficiency and the performance of your electric car. To explain it simply, inside a lithium-ion battery, lithium ions travel through a liquid called an electrolyte. This movement allows electrons to flow through your car's motor, creating the power you need to drive. When the temperature drops, that electrolyte becomes thick and sluggish. Think of it like honey turning into a thicker paste in the fridge. Because the ions can't move as easily, the battery struggles to deliver power, making your car less efficient and shortening your range. The parameters of this test are actually quite simple. I'll be driving from here in Stockholm to a small town up north called Gävle. And when I was doing the test, it was minus 14 degrees Celsius, or 6.8 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's nothing too harsh, but it's significant enough to base this test on. The distance from Stockholm to Gävle is 141 kilometers, or 87.6 miles one way. So in total, I'll be driving 282 kilometers, or 175 miles. Something good to mention is that I followed the car's instructions, so when it told me to charge or until what percentage I should charge to, I followed that. So it's just good to note, just so that you know, I wasn't making these things up, I was listening to the car. I started the test at 91% charge on the battery, and the average speed I was driving was 110 kilometers per hour on the highways, because this is the average speed and the max speed you can drive here in Sweden, which is roughly 68 miles per hour, so it's nothing too ludicrous, but it works and I still feel like it's a good number to base this test on. Surprisingly enough, I got to Gävle in one go. The 141 kilometers were driven with ease, but I did only arrive with 38% charge. I'll get into why this is odd and significant when I explain the results later in the video. When I arrived in Gävle, I actually only charged 8.27 kilowatts. So I left the charging station in Gävle until 48% charge again, and this was when the Model 3 told me I could continue my journey. So like I said in the parameters, I did this. On my way back home, I did have to make another stop. I arrived at my second charging station of the trip at a measly 16% charge, and I had only driven for 30 minutes. When I arrived and even charged the car, it told me that after 3 minutes I could leave and continue my trip and get home in one stretch. This is actually where I had to ignore the parameters and ignore the car, because this was not true. So I remained at the charging station until I had charged 28 kilowatts of charging, and this added roughly 45% of charge. After this, I continued my journey and did get home with a 12% charge. I know everything I said means nothing yet. Hopefully the visuals were useful, but the numbers mean nothing yet. I'm going to get into the results next. This is where I'm going to explain what all these percentages and all these distances actually mean for the car's performance in the cold. So on to the next section, I believe. Alright, the results. An important number before I get into them is 571 kilometers, or 306 miles. This is the range that the Tesla Model 3 Performance sells at when you buy it here in Sweden. So it's just an important number that I'm going to base most of my calculations on, so just remember that. On my trip to Gävle, I traveled 282 kilometers. I'm going to ignore what it is in miles for now, because the percentage at the end of my results section will be the same, regardless if it's miles or kilometers, so I'm just going to skip over that for now. By the logic that the Model 3 Performance has 571 kilometers, this should not have been an issue. And I'll take into account that I started with 91% of 571 kilometers range. So I actually started with 520 kilometers of range. So this should mean I could get from Stockholm to Gävle and back and still come home with 41.6% charge. But actually I started with 91% charge and arrived in Gävle with 38%. So this means I lost 53% of my charge, or which is equivalent to 302 kilometers, on a single trip from Stockholm to Gävle, which was only 141 kilometers. You see where I'm going with this, right? On my way back, I drove the same 141 kilometers, leaving Gävle with 48%, charging halfway from 16% to 45%, and arriving home with 12%. This means that I used 62% of my battery on my way back, meaning driving 141 kilometers on the way back used the same charge as driving 354 kilometers. Speaking from an ideal scenario, the trip would have needed 282 kilometers of range, or 49% of my battery. Instead, it needed 115% charge of the car, which means that the Tesla was 234% more inefficient due to the cold weather. To put it simply, the Tesla Model 3 in minus 14 degrees Celsius or 6.8 degrees Fahrenheit is half as efficient as what it's claimed to be on the website. I get that EVs are advertised with ideal scenario ranges, and you get that, right? It makes sense. But it's quite crazy to think that an EV is half as efficient when it comes to cold temperature. And it never even says that on the website. It says, yes, this is the range in ideal scenarios, but half as efficient is quite a significant decrease than what you're actually expecting. I just have to point that out. My video isn't here to just out Tesla, it's actually here to out all electric cars, or at least to raise a bit of awareness about it. Electric cars can drive the range that they promise in the colder temperature. And I think most people knew this, but with the increasing popularity in electric cars right now, it might be a good thing to mention. So if you live in a cold country and you drive more than 300 kilometers a day, hypothetically, an electric car might not be the way to go. But me saying that sounds really negative. I'm actually really positive about electric cars. If you drive small ranges, go for it, even in the cold. In the warmth, of course, an electric car is even more perfect. Get some solar panels and then boom, you've got a perfect combination there. But in the cold, driving really far distances, electric cars and their technology aren't there just yet. This was quite a fun video to make. It wasn't my usual review of a product, but it was still fun to drive the Tesla Model 3 in the cold and then see how the performance is affected by it. And it confirms what most people already knew, that the temperature doesn't have a good effect on batteries and their performance. But I wanted to reaffirm it, at least with the growing popularity in EVs right now. But it's still a fun video to make, good car to drive. So about the car itself and its functions and the comfort and everything, no complaints, but it's just the range. I think that might actually hurt when people buy electric cars, at least in the cold, and then realize that the promised range when they bought the car isn't really there. I wanted to release this video for quite some time now, but then the MacBook Neo and the new iPhone got released and I kind of got caught up in that, so I didn't have time to actually polish and make the video until now. And then actually considering that the popularity of electric cars has grown quite significantly right now, I think it might be an appropriate video to watch for anyone who's planning on buying an electric car, depending on the climate that they live in. But it's still a good video, and I really hope that you found it fun. The whole process for me was fun, so I hope the same applies to you. I hope it was informative, of course, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, and you like this kind of stuff, and you like the videos I make, maybe consider subscribing. It helps a lot. I'm still a growing channel, but it's still fun. I like it. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope to see you in the next one. And until then, bye-bye. Okay, that was good. That was